Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jam Vishnu Param Sabharacha Gacharya Shratta Shivain Grace Sabhajananda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jam Vishnu Param Sabharacha Gacharya Shratta Shivain Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Takura Brahmananda Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. We are reading today Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, Dhritarashtra quits home, Text 18. Vidurastad abhipratya. Vidurastad abhipratya. Dhritarashtra abhashata. Dhritarashtra abhashata. Rachandirkam yatam shigram. Rachandirkam yatam shigram. Pasyedam vayamagatam. Pashyedam vayam agatam vidurastat abhipratya Dhritarashtram abhashata Rajan nirgamyatam shigram Pashyedam vayam agatam vidurastat abhipratya Dhritarashtram abhashata Rajan nirgamyatam shigram Pashyedam vayam agatam vidurastat abhipratya Dhritarashtam abhashata Rajan nirgamyatam shigram Tam tam agatam Durastava pripratya Tascha bhashata Dam taimagatam Durastava pripratya Rashtam abhashata Shedam vayam agatam Durastada abhipratya Dhritarashtam abhashata Rajan nirgamyatam shigram Pashyedam vayam agatam Word to word Vidura Mahatma Vidura Tat that Abhipratya knowing it well Dhritarashtram unto Dhritarashtra Abhashata said, Rajan, O King, Nirgamyatam, please get out immediately. Shigram, without the least delay. Pasya, just see. Idam, this. Bhayam, fear. Agatam, already arrived. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, HG Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. Mahatma Vidura knew all this, and therefore he addressed Dhritarashtra, saying, My dear king, please get out of here immediately. Do not delay, just see how fear has overtaken you. Purport. Cruel death cares for none, be he Dhritarashtra or even Maharaj Yudhishthira. Therefore, spiritual instruction, as was given to old Dhritarashtra, was equally applicable to young Maharaj Yudhishthira. As a matter of fact, everyone in the royal palace, including the king and his brothers and mother, was rapidly attending the lectures. But it was known to Vidura that his instructions were especially meant for Dhritarashtra, who was too materialistic. The word Rajan is especially addressed to Dhritarashtra significantly. Dhritarashtra was the eldest son of his father, and therefore, according to law, he was to be installed on the throne of Hastinapur. But because he was blind from birth, he was disqualified from his rightful claim. But he could not forget the bereavement, and his disappointment was somewhat compensated after the death of Pandu, his younger brother. His younger brother left behind him some minor children, and Dhritarashtra became the natural guardian of them, but at heart he wanted to become the factual king and hand the kingdom over to his own sons, headed by Duryodhana. With all these imperial ambitions, Dhritarashtra wanted to become a king, and he contrived all sorts of intrigues in consultation with his brother-in-law Shakuni. but everything failed by the will of the Lord, and at the last stage, even after losing everything, man and money, he wanted to remain as king, being the eldest uncle of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Maharaj Yudhishthira, as a matter of duty, maintained Dhritarashtra in royal honor, and Dhritarashtra was happily passing away his numbered days in the illusion of being a king or the royal uncle of King Yudhishthira. Vidura, as a saint and as the duty-bound, affectionate youngest brother of Dhritarashtra, wanted to awaken Dhritarashtra from his slumber of disease and old age. Vidura therefore sarcastically addressed Dhritarashtra as the king, which he was actually not. Everyone is the servant of eternal time, and therefore no one can be king in this material world. King means the person who can order. The celebrated English king wanted to order time and tide, but the time and tide refused to obey his order. Therefore, one is a false king in the material world, and Dhritarashtra was particularly reminded of this false position and of the factual, fearful happenings which had already approached him at that time. Vidura asked him to get out immediately if he wanted to be saved from the fearful situation which was approaching him fast. He did not ask Maharaj Yudhishthira in that way because he knew that a king like Maharaj Yudhishthira is aware of all the fearful situations of this flimsy world and would take care of himself in due course, even though Vidura might not be present at that time. Om Jnanatimidandasya Grananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrachatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvetam Savadutam Parichana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandha Chikatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpaturubhascha Kripa Sindhyava Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnaveva Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class. Thank you for coming, and seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas that I may be able to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam and Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. And so, yeah, recently we reached text 18, so for quite a few classes now we heard about some of the glories of Vidura, him being an incarnation of Yamaraj, and externally coming through a curse of Manduka Muni, but internally actually just simply getting his desire fulfilled of getting an opportunity to directly preach the glories of the Lord. And yeah, so now we are arriving right at this point actually in this verse where he starts directly speaking, addressing Dhritarashtra, but as Prabhupada says in the purport, right in front of the whole assembly, and everyone there is hearing in rapt attention, like in previous verses Prabhupada in the purports often stressed this process of hearing, because and hearing, proper hearing means with rapt attention. Otherwise, it will always have purifying effect, even if we are completely somewhere else with our mind, simply transcendental sound vibration. But obviously, tangible progress we'll make if we hear with rapt attention, like here the whole assembly was doing, as you heard. And so, the first point that Prabhupada pointed out here is that the word which is significant from this word, is Rajan, because Vidura addressed Dhritarashtra sarcastically as Rajan, as king, because obviously Dhritarashtra, he was, although it's explained he was the firstborn son, so from that point of view would have been the rightful king, but due to his disqualification, externally because he was blind, but we know his real disqualification was not material blindness, but his blindness to spiritual blindness, and his simply, being greedy, as we hear, simply for having the power, having being on the throne, and not caring about the welfare of all, because as we know, Rajan, the king's there real king is meant to protect the prajas, all the living entities residing in his kingdom, not even just the human beings, but even going down to species like trees, plants, and of course all animals, what to speak of cows and like nowadays it's completely opposite, where we slaughter all the animals, exploit everything just for our sake. But obviously on the physical level, the king is meant to protect them. But most importantly, we heard, I think, Grace and Srinivas mentioned also that a king has to protect his citizens from the eternal enemy that we are subjected to in this material world. Why we are here, and that is lust. And in the famous section of Bhagavad Gita, beware of lust and anger, where Krishna explains to Arjuna why. Because Arjuna is asking, why is it that sometimes we act in a way that we don't even seem to desire, but somehow we are driven by something, and we do nonsense. How is that? And then Krishna answers that this is lust only. So he says, kama esha krodha esha rajaguna samutbhavaha mahasano mahapapma vidyena mihavayarinam. And this lust, as he describes here, is mahasano. So asana means eating, and so maha, great, so which means that it eats up everything. And as Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu explains, that this means that when we are subject to lust, it eats up all our good qualities. Like we might, especially like when we speak about materialistic people, some of them, they might think themselves very cultured and very ethical and everything, and have their self-imposed rules, because after all, if they are not following Shastras, then everything is made up by humans and is imperfect anyway. But still they might think, okay, I'm non-violent, I treat people very well, all sorts of things, but as long as they are not under the shelter of Krishna, then they are subject to lust, and when they get attacked by that, then all of that goes out of the window. Then you can't, all your good conduct gets overtaken by this power of simply, our lowest nature of simply wanting to satisfy our senses and not caring about anything else. And so Mahashano, Mahapatma, so the all-devouring, sinful enemy of this world. And in end of second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we hear about how we come to this lust, which starts from the contemplation of the sense objects. So Dhyayato vishayam spamsaha sanchaste shupachayate sangat sanchayate kama krodha vachayate. Okay, so thank you. So by contemplating the objects of the senses, then attachment arises, and from that comes lust, and from lust further comes anger, as we even also in the same verse here, that when lust doesn't get fulfilled, then we become angry, which puts us into from a mode of passion into a mode of ignorance, where we act even more degraded. And yeah, so what we see here from Dhritarashtra is that rather than being such a king who protects his citizens from lust, which like that's the link also from the 3rd chapter to 4th chapter in Bhagavad Gita, that how to be protected by this lust, and that's like he finishes 2nd chapter by saying, steady your mind with deliberate spiritual intelligence, and then so this spiritual intelligence, how do we get that? That for that we first of all need spiritual knowledge, jnana, and that's why Krishna explains then in the beginning of 4th chapter how this spiritual knowledge is given to living entities, namely through the parampara, and especially he says here through those saintly kings, through the Raja Rishis. And so yeah, that's what a king is supposed to do, to give spiritual knowledge and to construct the society, run it in such a way that they all follow properly at least the Varnashrama Dharma, and gradually get elevated in the spiritual life, to win over this eternal enemy of lust. But there's with Dhritarashtra, rather than having the ability to do that, he, like Ganesh and Prabhu yesterday explained, that his very name means Dhrita, that very as a fixed, determined in Rashtra, in the kingdom, so wanting the kingdom, even though he was not qualified. And for all his life, we heard it's like he actually even knew that he was acting wrong, but simply because of this strong attachment to his own sons, headed by Duryodhana. So you heard this purport also, that he couldn't act righteously, but always was attached to wanting the kingdom for him, for his sons. And so yeah, what to speak then how he could protect the other prajas. So that's his real disqualification. And on this point I was thinking that's something we can also sometimes contemplate ourselves, how much are we attached to like being in devotional service. Often, mostly it won't be so much on physical things. Yeah, there are some things you might be attached to, but mostly it's about how we engage in devotional service, then how much are we able to act simply for the pleasure of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, or how much do we actually still act according to our attachment. Like I was a few days ago, I had this realization that when I was told that I was a short time that I would need to do the paraphernalia service, and then I vowed to going to take another shower, just briefly after a morning shower anyway. So I think, oh man. And then, but somehow then before I actually took the shower, then already the other devotee was there. So I didn't end up doing it. But then after that I thought, oh man, wow, lucky. Otherwise I would have been really frustrated, wasting the time, taking another shower for nothing. If I would have come down then, and the devotee would have been there at that time. So, and that made me realize, oh wow, actually this shows how much, because in our mind we think, okay, because wasting time, we cannot waste time, we have so much to do, all this service, that service, and then we want to sadhana also. Then further I was thinking, okay, but this shows that I somehow think that all these things depend on me, that that Gopinath needs me to do that, and which is obviously very foolish, because we know Gopinath is the Supreme Lord. He's Atmaram. He doesn't need anyone, anything. So what to speak of me doing some insignificant service here? And so, which further means that, because why does he engage us in service, even while being here in the material world? Why does he come here in the form of Archa Vigraha and engage us simply for our benefit? And so he never depends on us. We are simply fully dependent on him. But yeah, so this shows that I'm attached to thinking, okay, I want to do this and that, and if it doesn't run that way, then I get frustrated. Whereas if we are a bit more aware of that Gopinath simply wants to give us the credit to do service, but he never needs us, then it's actually then that's the reality, and that's how we can engage in a better consciousness in our service. And so then the next point of concerning Dhritarashtra we heard here was that he even now, after because he was so extremely attached to his son's kingdom and everything, and now at that point where we are here in Bhagavatam, we know that he already had lost everything, actually, like including all his sons in the battle of Kurukshetra. But still, he was happily in their residing in the palace of Maharaj Yudhishthira under putting himself into the illusion of, okay, I'm still kind of like a king. I'm the royal uncle of Maharaj Yudhishthira, and he's consulting me, he's treating me very nicely, everything. It shows how amazing such this attachment can be. Even it's already gone artificially, we still try to hold on to various things. And there's then, like Prabhupada himself also in the Prabhupada then further says that actually even everyone, that everyone is a servant of eternal time, and therefore no one can be king in this material world. So what to speak of Dhritarashtra, he put himself into the illusion within the illusion, because we know generally every material designation is actually an illusion. It's a temporary designation connect also regarding this present material body. It has nothing to do with our real eternal existence as a spirit soul. So what to speak of Dhritarashtra here, not even materially speaking, he was king, but still put him happily lived in this illusion. And so regarding the higher level illusion of thinking oneself a king, there's one nice verse that King Muchukunda tells in his prayers to Krishna. And that was, not so long ago we discussed this section of when in the chapter when Krishna entered Dwarka, where we heard about the pastime, how this came about, that after the Krishna had annihilated 17 times the army of Jarasandha, nicely using him as a nice demon, bringing all the miscreants to be annihilated by him, so that he could fulfill his mission of Vinashaya Chadushkritam, which fulfilling one of his purposes, to get rid of all those dushkritis, like last class I was mentioning about, that the materially intelligent, they are called dushkriti, because they do meritorious work, they have intelligence, but they misuse it. They don't use it for the real interest of human beings to realize their position as eternal servant of the Lord. So after Krishna had annihilated 17 times his army, then at the 18th time, at the same time, Kali Yavana came, and that was when then Krishna, playing the part of, oh wow, that might be too much for us, Balaram, so then he constructed this wonderful city of Dwarka, and he himself then in this in the battle against Kali Yavana, that's also why he's also famous as Ranachora, that he ran away from the battlefield, that he didn't even go straight, although being challenged, didn't fight Kali Yavana, but rather ran away, so that he led him then into this cave where Muchukunda was passing his time of his benediction that he got from the demigods after having fought for them for so many years, to that he could simply sleep, and only whoever would awaken him, that he would his glance would burn this person to ashes, and that's why Krishna led Kali Yavana there, and who was then woke, and Kali Yavana entering the cave thought this person to be Krishna, just lying down there, and then and Muchukunda was woken up and burned Kali Yavana to ashes, and then Krishna gave him his darshan, and Muchukunda offers beautiful prayers there. And one of those prayers is a most beautiful verse. It's Puraratya himaparishkrita ishcharan matam gatir vanaradeva samnita saeva kalana duratya yenata kalevaro vitkrimibasma samnita. So King Muchukunda is saying that the body that at first rides high on fierce elephants or on chariots adorned with gold and is known by the name King, is later by your invincible power of time called feces, worms, or ashes. So, so Matam Gatir on fierce elephants. Gaja we know from famous pastime of Gajendra, the king of elephants. And another name of elephant is also Hasti, like we know from Vidya Vinaya Sampane Kavi Hastini, Brahmani Kavi Hastini, and also here in the where they are residing, and Ganeshambhu also mentioned yesterday, this Hastinapur is called in that way because it was so rich that they were able to maintain so many elephants. Like the city was full of elephants, which indicates extreme wealth they had there. But so anyway, the point here is that such kings, which Muchukunda humbly there also realized his, although he was a devotee before, but like at that point he fully realizes that how apparently, like speaking on the highest level, how he wasted his time thinking himself a great king, fighting for the demigods, all of that, and so rather than just being engaged in pure devotional service. So sorry. Okay, kind of. But the point, and the other word there is Naradeva. So that this person is called king, and we know one of those names is Naradeva, so the god among humans, because we know a king is supposed to proper king is supposed to represent the supreme personality of Godhead actually, and in this way, head the society in the most beneficial way for all of them, and but at the end, what's the destination of no matter how great such a king is, the destination of the body doesn't matter if he's a king or if he's an aunt or a shooter, whatever. At the end, the body vanishes. It's the same with everybody. So, and yeah, I find this verse very, like, showing beautifully this contrast of being on the highest, achieving the highest things in material life, like being a great king, riding on golden chariots, on fierce elephants, but then at the end the destination is the same of everybody. So at the end the body gets eaten by worms or the other animals, other living entities, and this way it gets turned into stool. So it's or gets burnt by fire, and so ends up as ashes. So yeah, we should always keep that in mind as well. Trying, because like Prabhupada often explains that to do proper actually pure as a devotional service is not possible on the bodily platform. But yeah, by the mercy, even if we are still quite in the illusion of identifying false with the body, we still, by mercy of Srila Prabhupada, and we are able to engage in devotional service, and it's still accepted, whatever we do. But yeah, to make real progress and to really be able to please the Lordship, we have to transcend the bodily platform. And so yeah, we also, so yeah, that's why this knowledge, we can never override it or neglect it, of how that and how we are not the body. And yeah, so that's why we should always also keep reading Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam itself, obviously, also we always get reminded of that. And yeah, then as a point I was thinking on, because I was mentioning before that that we know that Gopinath, he's Atmaram, so he's completely self-satisfied. He doesn't need our service, but still he's so kind to his devotees, even to neophyte devotees like me, that he wants to give credit. He wants to engage us in his service, and I was just yesterday actually finishing the chapter in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 6, Liberation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, where Atmaram, he also then asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to explain the Atmaram verse specifically. So that's one link. But let me just briefly go through. So when after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes sannyas, he travels through Radhadesh and in complete ecstasy, doesn't even remember to eat or anything concerning his body. So then in his ecstasies, the other devotees mislead him, because he wants, straight from after taking sannyas, he wants to go Vrindavan, as you know, and Nityananda Prabhu tricks him, telling cowherd boys to tell him the wrong way, to wait on the Ganges rather than to Vrindavan, and so then Mahaprabhu ends up there on the bank of the Ganges and thinking it to be Yamuna, in ecstasy, worshipping it, and because meanwhile Lord Nityananda had sent Acharya Ratna to go to the house of Advaita Acharya to go to the Ganges there, be ready with a boat to pick up Mahaprabhu, so that's what happens then. That at first Chaitanya Mahaprabhu still thinks, oh, addresses Advaita Acharya. Oh wow, amazing how did you know that I'm in Vrindavan, that you came here? But then soon he realizes, no, that's not the Yamuna, that's not Vrindavan. I was cheated by Lord Nityananda. But anyway, so he accepts then the invitation of Advaita Acharya, and so he stays there for a few days. And meanwhile, also Acharya Vatna had brought Madhasachi and other devotees from Navadvip, and she cooks. And as actually even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, he asks Madhasachi to cook, because after all, for 3 days, now being in the external consciousness again, while he was traveling, he had, as I said, he was in such ecstasy, he didn't even remember to eat or anything. So then he asks Madhasachi to please cook something, and she, and for her it's the first time that she sees him after taking sannyas, which means after his beautiful long hair was shaven off. So at first she's actually like, it's such a pain for her to see him in that way. So she can't actually even see him because she's so full of tears. But then when she hears that Mahaprabhu asks her to cook, then she immediately pushes her sadness away, and nicely cooks for him in ecstasy as well. So that's one nice point, showing another example of, we hear like several times how devotees, even in whatever ecstasy or in that way, it's more the other way around, pain, but how they are ready and able to push aside anything if there is opportunity to serve the Lord. And okay, but then, so after the Mahaprabhu leave, and then they come to the settlement. Okay, to be able to still be not fully away from the devotees, especially Madhasachi, that she asked him to stay at Jagannath Puri instead, not to go to Vrindavan. So that's what he's doing then. And going fast forward to now, when he arrives at Jagannath Puri, then he falls in unconscious in ecstasy when he sees Lord Jagannath, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya there being, is it a head priest or? Yeah, I think so. So he takes him then to his home. He even sees like that all the ecstatic symptoms and everything. Sees that he's actually alive, even though unconscious and all of that. But anyway, let's go to the point where then, after the other devotees had also arrived then, and so Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, thinking like he was impersonalist, but greatest scholar at that time, and he was thinking, how can this young sannyasi stay? So from his conception, those Mayavadis were thinking they need constantly hear the Vedanta Sutra. So that's why he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to hear from him, and Mahaprabhu takes very humble position and listens from him for 7 days non-stop, not giving any kind of feedback or like expression. Until then, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, astonished, asked him, "How is it that you were hearing all the time, but not saying anything? Did you? I can't know if you understood anything or not." And then Mahaprabhu tells that I do understand Vedanta Sutra, but I can't understand your explanations. They're like confusing me. And so then Vichi then takes us the opportunity to explain to him actually the proper understanding of Vedanta, of the personal conception of the Absolute Truth. And then, so yeah, then in that way, then he shows his mercy unto Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He after realizing, accepting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his instructions, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shows him his first his four-handed form, then his form of Krishna himself playing the flute. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in falls down flat, paying obeisances, then gets back up, offers prayers of composing beautiful 100 verses. And so, yeah, the point I wanted to come to is that then later, when I think it's actually the next day, then. But anyway, yeah, the point is then that the brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is Gopinathacharya, and he was actually preaching to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya just before, but he couldn't, at that time Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya couldn't accept the instructions, and so yeah, he when okay, no, sorry, that's a bit later. So first, at that point, then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says. So I forgot actually if he says or Gopinathacharya to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that. Yeah, no, I think Gopinathacharya says to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after he sees all the devotees see like the transformation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, how he was like showing all the ecstatic symptoms in devotional ecstasy for Mahaprabhu. So he addresses Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that how wonderful it is, like how that you have brought about that. And but Lord Chaitanya takes humble position again and says that rather this is because you're a devotee, and because of your association, Lord Jagannath has shown his mercy upon Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So again, showing how, the Lord, he always wants to give the credit to the devotees, and and in that way, it's such sweet, loving exchanges between him and the devotees. Okay, so. Went a bit over time today. Thank you for attending. Grantarat Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.